Well, okay. Okay, we're gonna get started here. We're gonna start on our Kent City Council workshop. We got two items on the agenda tonight. One is a drainage update, and then the other one is a stormwater quality update. So we're looking forward to these. And Mr. Vincent gonna start this off? That'll be you, sir.
Love it. I love it. Well, thank you, council members, for having us here tonight. And this is a presentation I look forward to every year. Believe it or not, even though we had a little bit of a bug tonight, I made some last minute revisions and forgot to slide it over into the S drive, so that's what we were doing over here. But we got it. We're here. We're making it happen. And let's get started. This year's presentation is going to be a little bit different than years past. In years past, I come up and talk about sewer and drainage. This year is strictly drainage. Last year, we went through a little bit of a reorganization, so I no longer manage the sewer department. I'm strictly drainage. So instead of the sewer department, I have been given the drainage vegetation team on top of my regular storm department. Okay. So tonight, as we get started, I'll start talking about our drainage vegetation team. This year has been a year of observing for me, a year of watching their processes, watching how the team works together, see how they interact as I just learn the team. So I had to put this picture up. This is actually just down the street from the shop down on 64th. This was a giant cottonwood we had cut down. And the contractor actually had to brace it while he was cutting because a beaver ate about halfway through this cottonwood. It was fortunate that we caught this. It fallen in either direction. It would have fallen on 64th Avenue or it could have fallen toward the apartments there. We caught it just in time, but I love this picture because he's holding that tree in place as, as his folks did the work on the ground. It's a great illustration of the work that our contractors do for us. Did a wonderful job on this tree and saving us from problems on the road. First pond that I got to watch as I took over this group and I'm observing this team watch, they're moving away from the growing season. They're starting into their tree season. It's the time of year where the grass is dormant. They're going to go into the ponds and they're going to start cutting all the trees down. Okay, the trees that don't belong, we call weed trees, the alders and stuff that are popping up all over the place. Kind of block the drainage, get the roots get into the system, cause problems for us, cause other issues throughout the pond areas. And I'm standing in the corner and I'm looking across this pond and I'm amazed by the amount of trees that have grown up through here. And I'm thinking to myself, these guys are probably going to be up here for a solid couple of weeks. Close to your house. And then I get out of the way. What? So this is Ormy Pond. It's on the northeast corner of 256th and about 132nd. The address is 136 and 256. It's kind of tucked in behind some homes up in that area. So as I'm standing here and I take this picture, I decided it's a good time to get out of the way and just watch, see what's going on. And right away, I realize everybody's got a job. These guys are a well-oiled machine, and I picked this up right away. Right away, they're working efficiently, they're working safe, and they're working, and they're happy, right? These guys have earpieces in, and they're all communicating. You know, they can stand behind the chipper, which is just out of the picture there, and talk like we're talking right now. It's wonderful. The guy with a chainsaw, he can talk to the guy with a chipper right now, like we're talking right now. It's wonderful. These guys can communicate the whole time they're up here working. This is 3 days later. The same pond in the same spot I took that original picture. I figured that they were going to be up for a couple of weeks, you know, not understanding just how well this team works. 3 days later, they've got this pond cleared of trees. Wonderful team. I was really impressed with the amount of work they did. So throughout the winter season, this was late 2022, moving into 2023. They did a few more ponds throughout the winter season. They did 17 ponds like this. We moved into a bigger pond. This is the Mack Park Pond. It's up at 267th, about 112th, a large L-shaped pond up in the Tudor Square neighborhood. very heavily treed. A lot of water still in the pond. These guys knew right away exactly what they're doing, the drainage vegetation team, and they use the water throughout this process to pull the trees through, pull the branches through, and to get the trees to the chipper as they're cutting things down. This is a wonderful process to watch. I was really impressed with what they were doing. I was impressed with their efficiency. I was impressed with their innovation. I didn't get a good picture. It was really tough to get a picture of the rigging. I didn't want to get down in there and get in their way. But they left trees that were about 3 to 4 feet tall. And they're using those trees to tie off their rigging, to tie off their pulleys. And they were using those trees to pull those loads of branches, those bundles of branches and trees through the water to get to their chipper. You know, these guys, again, just really impressed with their ability to think through and use their surroundings and make the job a lot easier. It's really impressed. Again, I was really impressed with them and their ability to work with just about anybody. I'm not exactly sure if you recognize this guy down there in the corner, but
He look awfully clean, I can tell you that. He's not dirty.
Oh, this was a good day for that. Right. This is a good day for that team. Chad got a chance to go up there and watch them work through that process. He got right in there with them. They were impressed. Honestly, I mean, they had great things to say about Chad being up there, and he had great things to say about them as well. It was a great team building day. It was good for them to have them in that group. Says a lot about our leadership, being willing to get up there and really rub elbows and honestly get dirty. Who knows what meeting he had? You know, he could have had a meeting 5 minutes after he got slapped in the face with a bunch of mud, but he was up there doing it anyway. So that was a great day. Moving on to our production numbers, and I'm going to touch on a few numbers here, and then I'll touch on another number later on in the presentation. So last year they mowed 374 ponds. It's a lot of ponds just through the growing season, mind you. So that's just 3-4 months out of the year. They cut 17 tree ponds down throughout the winter season. So that's through 22, 23, three-month season, give or take. And they repaired 36 split rail fences throughout our wetlands. Moving on to the storm drainage group, the team that I've been managing for years. We've been having some ponding issues, you can say, as you can see here, for years. Down on 79th, this is in front of Chet's Roofing and Smith Brothers, and I believe there's another business down there. It's escaping me at the moment. It's not important. What's important is the amount of water you see there. It's a struggle that we've dealt with for off and on for years. The problem is this is the lowest spot, I swear, in the valley. It feels like it, at least in this area. And between the storm department, our managers, and the street department, we came up with a fix for this. Move on to before and after shot, the top shot being the picture at the opening of this. What did we do? We went in there, we installed a couple of catch basins. Overall, we installed about 160 lineal feet of culvert pipe across the road and under the driveways. What I don't have up there is that we also created ditches where ditches never existed, right? Other areas for water to get off the road down on this street. The street department raised the road about 4 inches in the lowest spot of this road over the entire stretch of that, and you can see down in the bottom the after shot of this project. And then really the main goal was to extend the life of the street by improving the drainage in the area. And we're going to keep a close eye on the drainage throughout this winter season, just making sure that the improvements that we made hold well. Later on, shortly after that, we actually moved up to the Scenic Hill area. Dean Street, between Dean and Tacoma, there was an area that had, for years, a bunch of terrible erosion. Just really washed out terribly and ended up washing down through our Kensington Ravine, and it just caused a lot of problems for us throughout the years. And this is something we decided to tackle this year, right after we got done with 79th. We moved up to this spot. And the picture on the left is what it looked like before we got up there with years of erosion. It was quite deep. You can see where it moved into the yard. Terrible erosion. I don't even know how to say it. You know, it's just very bad erosion. And the picture to the right is what it looked like after we left. I'll get into what we ended up doing. We ended up installing 160 feet of 12-inch PVC pipe and 2 catch basins down through that ravine to get to that second structure, to get to that second picture, that after picture, so that we can do away with that erosion and not carry any more of that sedimentation, that rock and that gravel down through the Kensington Ravine that was just completed the year prior to this one. Another fantastic job by this team. And I've shown you pictures of our earthworks and our HPA work throughout the year. And even with the addition of our Garrison and 212th culvert that we took on a couple years ago, the team has really cut down on the time that they're having to do on these projects. One of the things that they've done to increase their efficiency is the way they fish the earthworks pond. In years past, we'd start draining the water, and guys would walk around with individual nets, and we'd catch the fish, put them in buckets, and take them downstream. What we started doing again this year is we started using the larger nets. And what we do is we'd make a large sweep around the pond. I'll move on to the next picture and start dragging that big net around to one localized area. We do that 3, maybe 4 times. Catch all the fish, transfer them over into buckets with clean water, move them downstream into clean water, then we can finish draining the pond, remove all the dirt, muck, and mud, and gravel, and move on to our next project. That process alone saves us a day just on that pond, which is, again, a big improvement in efficiency. It's also a lot less stress on the fish. We get the pond fished before the water gets too warm. You know, I'm really pleased with their use of this net. And instead of being in the water this year, I was the last 2 years showing them how to use it. I was actually able to stand back and take pictures of them using it, which is great. They did a wonderful job. Right now, they're finishing up a project down on Woodford Avenue, just off of James Street. I'm sure you guys noticed that we had James Street closed for a little bit. Yeah. We had some drainage improvements made down there that our design team did a wonderful job of putting together, and they included my staff in that design, which was a wonderful collaboration. It was nice that they pulled the ops team in, the boots on the ground in, and asked them, what do you think would work here? And took their thoughts and put it down and came up with a plan that everybody would be happy with, and they built it. So this is our contribution. Woodford Drainage, we extended the drainage from the north down to the south. We added a considerable amount of 12-inch ductile iron pipe, 2 new structures, replacing one existing structure to make it all happen. Excuse me. They finished up the asphalt on that today, so we'll be out of that area tomorrow morning after after they do a quick walkthrough just to make sure everything's out of there. But another big improvement for the drainage down in the Woodford and James area. And this is just them doing the work. Fortunately, it was shallow, so they didn't have a whole lot of things to work against them. They had some water lines that were in the way, but fortunately they worked with our water department, and they moved those water lines out of the way so they could install the ductile iron pipe. We've got great operators, we've got great pipe layers, and the technology to make sure that everything is flat, maybe even with a little bit of fall to make the water go in the right direction. Wonderful project, really well done. I'm really pleased with what they've done here. This is our last construction project of the year. When they're done buttoning this up, they're going to move up to our Keyhawk area, where we're going to make some small improvements up there so we can reorganize, clean the site up, and make room for our contractor when that project happens. So getting to some statistics, and these numbers is where a lot of our projects come from. So last year, our staff responded to 211 service requests. 57 of those service requests turned into small projects and or repairs. 7 of those turned into major projects that turned into CB installs, pipe installs, culvert repairs and replacements. And 42 of those were actually spill responses. Busy team, busy staff, not a moment to rest, but they love it. They love the work. They love what they do. Our NPDES inspection program, I like to talk about this. 1 year's inspection numbers, talking from September of last year to this year, they've inspected 11,777 structures. What does that produce for us? It's produced 113 catch basin and or manhole repairs. It's produced 1,743 structures that needed to be cleaned, right? Our drainage vegetation team got pulled into the process when they added when they added the drainage ponds to the NPDES program. We figured they're going to be there anyway. So Chris Cuvion, one of my supervisors, pulled them in, showed them how to do an inspection on a pond, worked with them. And while they're there cutting the grass, doing everything they're doing there, they also do an inspection, right? And so they turn that inspection into us. And if there any work comes out of those inspections, drainage staff takes care of that. And we got 19 required sedimentation removal work orders that came out of those 374 inspections last year. It's a lot of work, a lot of work. And I was really pleased with Chris's thoughts on pulling in another team and helping with that NPDES inspection program. It just made sense. They were there. Yeah, it's work that they weren't used to yet, but he's a wonderful coach. He helps talk them through that, talk them through the inspection program, and they've done a wonderful job for us. It's been a great team effort. And as promised in years past, we've got our very own Josh Evans, our very own duck whisperer, doing his thing. And I hear rumor that we've got a picture of him in duck whisperer training, so you'll have to tune in next year when that picture shows up in a presentation. I want to close with just one comment. This drainage staff love what they do. They love the city. They love the citizens. They take great pride in their work. And I couldn't be prouder as a manager of that team. And with that, take any questions if you have them.
Well, thank you very much. I can tell that you are a good example for your team with your leadership, and I think you're very passionate about your job, and I can tell that get passed on to your team as well too. So kudos to you and the team for all the hard work you guys continue to do, and I know you put Chad in the picture just for show because he was not dirty, but at least we got his face in there. That's all good. Yeah, but really, seriously, good job. I know anybody have any comments? Councilmember Fincher, do you have any comments?
I just wanted to say thank you. I've said it before. A lot of times you don't think about public works. You get calls when something isn't working, when the street, you can't see the line, when the pond needs to be mowed. But you don't get the calls saying, oh, the pond looks so great since it's been mowed. So hearing and seeing the pride in your voice and on your face, on the faces of some of the staff members out there who work with the, NDPDS, and, who work in drainage. I just love the quality of people, the pride that the people who work for Kent take in their jobs and making sure they do their jobs well. And the appreciation is truly felt for you. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Michaud?
Thank you, Council President. Yes, thank you to you and your team. Especially love your presentations. You personalize them. We are really appreciative of embarrassing photos of directors
Anytime.
and baby animals. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Hey, keep up the good work, and be sure to pass the kudos down to your team as well from the council. Thank you. All righty. Moving on. Stormwater quality update. Laura, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me today.
Awesome.
Today I'm here to talk to you about updates to our environmental programs. We're going to talk about, let's see if we can get this to go. There we go. The Clean Water Act, the NPDES permit. Kudos to you, Councilmember Fincher, for remembering that. Our current programs and the upcoming 2024 permit issuance, we did just get the final draft for comment from the Department of Ecology. The new permit will be effective on August 1st of 2024. So I'll be discussing the proposed updates as we go through this presentation. So we are a Phase 2 municipality under this permit. And this permit is due to the Clean Water Act, which is overseen by the Environmental Protective Agency. And in the state of Washington, the Department of Ecology oversees the requirements of the permit. Here's a list of our requirements. You see that it grows every year. So you can see that some of these are current programs. Some of these are programs that are going to be proposed as under the new permit. Some of our current programs that we're working on now will have new requirements, so we will have to adjust and implement some new requirements under those, but we also have some complete new programs that we will be developing and implementing under the proposed permit requirements. The driver of a lot of these new updates are a lot of studies that they've been doing, and they're finding these pollutants that are really having an effect on our environment. These are PCB, PFOS, and 6-PPDQ are three of the top ones that you're going to hear about a lot. 6-PPDQ is it's a chemical that is added to tires to make them last longer. However, as the tires wear, this is released into our environment, and we're finding that it's really affecting especially juvenile coho so that they're not making it to maturity. So they're finding ways to use green infrastructure, and they're finding that this is decreasing that mortality rate. And so by letting water filter into the ground and treating that water before it discharges from our system. So they're still doing a lot of studies on it. They're holding a lot of regional meetings, and actually the tire companies are involved, which we're very pleased about. And our group is going to all of those meetings to find out what we can do as a city to help with this. PFOS. This is what's found in firefighting foam. It's also found in things like rain gear, paints. But one of the new programs is for us, that's being proposed, is for us to work with our local fire department on how to take care of this foam. So if it is being used, we know how it's being used and where, and we can make sure that if it does enter the storm system, we're able to clean that up before it discharges to waters of the state. So that would be a new program that we would implement working with them. We've already started the process of talking with them. Street sweeping program. We already have a pretty robust street sweeping program, but this will be another new program in itself. So we will have to adjust our program to meet the requirements. But since we already have a pretty good program in place, we should be able to just tweak that a bit to make sure that we're meeting requirements, which some of those are hitting areas that are like high traffic areas or areas where you have a lot of tire wear. So we'll be working with operations on this program. And then public education and outreach. This is one of my favorite ones, getting to work with the public. We have 3 different programs that we work with underneath of this program. General awareness, working with the general public. Social marketing, finding out how we can get this education out to the public in the best way possible. And then behavioral change, where we work with them to change behaviors that can keep pollutants out of our waterways. So these are some of the fun education and outreach programs we work on. So we will have new requirements. We'll have new target audiences. This includes business owners and property managers. It includes college students is another one that they are wanting us to talk to as well. And then another one of the target subjects that we need to educate on is building washing. They found that PCBs are in a lot of building materials, especially from buildings built between the early 1970s to the 1980. So if they fall within that range, we're going to have to do assessments, and we're going to have to use the right BMPs when doing this type of maintenance to make sure that those PCBs aren't being washed down into our waterways. So this will be a new requirement to educate the public and also for our own staff that does this type of work. And our behavior change campaigns, again, we have target audiences that we need to talk to and best management practices that we need to target. And because Kent has such a large industrial and manufacturing area, you see a lot of dumpsters out there. So we worked on a regional project and did the Shut the Lid campaign. Just shutting the lid on a dumpster can keep a lot of pollutants out of our system so it doesn't get water in there, or things don't get blown out, or animals take things out. So we focused on that as well as cleaning up around the dumpsters. This is what we were finding quite a bit, but we're really working with the property managers and owners to get this cleaned up and explain to them how it really affects our environment. They can take a pledge, and then they get to put a window cleaning up that says we shut the lid on pollution, so they can show the public that they're taking pride in their environment and they're doing the right thing. And it's also important for social marketing. We have a very diverse community. They like to get information in different ways. We have different languages that we need to address. So we have our education outreach materials either be translated into different languages or use symbols that are internationally known, with the red circles and the lines through them and pictures. We're trying to make it as easy to understand as possible. So public involvement and participation. We need to make sure that the public is involved with our programs, whether it's being involved by going out and doing Adopt a Street or Team Up to Clean Up, or just being involved with giving us comments back on our stormwater management plans. So we put those out there. They're available on the website, and we welcome comments and suggestions. And one of the new requirements is to make sure that we're finding ways to reach out to the overburdened communities so that they also have a say. And then we need to make sure we tell ecology how we identify these communities and how we're making sure that they have an opportunity to be involved as well. That's one of the new requirements being proposed. This is our controlling runoff from new development, redevelopment, and construction sites. So when you're out there and you're seeing the new development and construction sites, hopefully you're seeing this. These are good BMPs. They have the jute mat down covering up the soils that have been disturbed, and then they have catch basin inserts. And this is all to keep all of those pollutants from the construction site from entering into our stormwater system. Here's one of our levees. Again, they have the soils covered. They have rocks along the bottom, so as the river flows through, it's not washing away soils. And they go out. We have Matt McCullough who goes out, and he works with our construction inspectors, and he inspects these sites. Here's one that he just inspected not too long ago. You can see the first one. You can see the front view. The filter fabric fencing is not in place, and the soils are being washed down to the creek. So he went out there and quickly worked with them, and he got them to put down straw on the jute mat. You can see from the side view now. And they have the fencing back in place to keep those pollutants from entering our storm system and our waterways. And he does a good job working with them. This is the one that you guys all really like. You seem to, is the illicit discharges. This is a sample of some of our illicit discharges from the last few years. You can see that one of the ones that is most common is our fuel spills, and that's due to car accidents. And we are having an increase in these reports. And it's not necessarily because we're having more spills and illicit discharges, but it's because our staff has been out there training them and telling them what a spill and illicit discharge looks like and how they can report them. And we now have Kent Works so that can easily report them. So we're getting more of these notices so that we can go out there and address these issues and educate people. So it is a good thing that we're getting more reports that we can attend to. Again, here's motor oil, a car accident. You can see that quite a bit of fuel was spilled onto our roadway when the gas tank was hit. And our crews, and then again, this is Jens's group and how well they work with us. They're out there working with our fire department, who we've also trained to use spill response materials, and they're out there doing this cleanup for us, and they just do a phenomenal job coordinating with us. Here's one that's a big one right now that we're seeing in Kent. These are both from fuel theft. What they'll do is they'll go out and they'll drill the fuel tank and use some kind of container to collect that fuel, but when that's full, they leave, and the rest of that fuel comes out and onto the ground and can enter our storm system. So we're working with businesses to get spill containment in place and have spill kits on site so that they can address this until we can get out there and help. If it's on private property, they have to do it, but we help them and we give them resources that they can use to get these issues taken care of. But it is a problem right now. And this is an illicit connection. This was a business in Kent that connected by accident their grease interceptor. They plumbed it directly into a storm pipe thinking it was the sewer system. And when our inspectors went out there to inspect, they caught that immediately. They had that connection removed and had it connected to the sewer where it's supposed to be connected to. So they do a great job really making sure they're paying attention to every detail to be able to find these things. Operations and maintenance. So this is two programs under one. One is for the public system, and that's everything that Jen's explained to you. So to put in my appreciation for Jen's group, they're out there taking care of the spills and illicit discharges. They're out there doing all of the maintenance on the systems. They have requirements that they have to meet to be in compliance with the permit, and they're meeting them time after time after time, and doing so well communicating and coordinating with us. They're just an awesome group to work with. So he explained that part of it, and then there's the part that's the private system, and here we have Heather Martin, Atisha Hutchison, and CJ, who's here, right here. He's one we actually stole from Jen's, and we're not sorry. He's ended up being just a wonderful, wonderful addition to our team, real go-getter who's been out there helping us meet these requirements. So they're doing some plan review before they go out to do inspections. Here's Natisha. She's out inspecting a private storm system. What they do is they look at all of the flow control, water quality, all the conveyance systems, and they really work with the property managers and with the property owners and explain to them and educate them the importance of doing the maintenance and how to do the maintenance and help them with resources, telling them, you know, where they can go to get a good contractor. We have a contractors list. And they do such a great job engaging these business owners to where they'll call us to see what they can do to improve things. And you don't get that very often when we're holding them to certain requirements, but they're very appreciative, and it's due to our group really making sure that they're being, you know, really good stewards of our programs. So here is a before and after picture of a bioswale. It was not working very well, you can see. Natisha Hutchison was the one who went out there and worked with them and had them define that area again and got that water flowing for them again so that it could function as it was originally designed. And this is what they do. These are some pretty extreme examples, but I wanted to show you what a catch basin looks like full of dirt. It's usually not that bad, but this way you can see that they do get full of sediment, and they do get holes eventually and need some repair. And our group goes out there and makes sure that these things are taken care of and educates them on how to do the repairs. What we're looking to do next is a self-inspection program. We're in the process of developing that right now. It's already required under our codes that if you own and operate a private drainage system that you're responsible for doing the inspection and the maintenance of it. Before, a lot of times they would wait for us to come out there. Now we're empowering them to know what to do. And we want them to learn about their system, how it operates, what is all there. Some people don't realize what is all contained in their system. So we're out there and we're letting them know, and we're teaching them about how to inspect and when to know when they need maintenance. And we're hoping that they will really take ownership of this. So they'll be out there doing the inspection and see my dumpster's leaking into this catch basin and it's causing a discharge. So I need to do something about that. So we're hoping that it will engage them more into being better stewards of their systems. This is Nate, by the way. He's out on paternity leave, but he'll be back with us soon here. Source control program was a new program under the current permit, and this year was the year that we were to implement the program, so we started implementing it. It's one of the programs that CJ's really taken ownership of. He's been out there meeting with these business owners. And what it is it's getting all the properties we call source control, or properties that have the ability, due to the processes at that site, to discharge pollutants into our system. And so we have to categorize them, identify them, and then have them in a program where our people will go out and work with them on what types of BMPs they can do to keep those pollutants out of our system. And here's some of them. So how to properly store wastes. You can see the old oil containers. You can see the oil can, that's from cooking oil. And we go out there and we require them to put them in bins that have secondary containment. If all they have is a barrel, at least they need to chain that up so people can't come and dump that over. So we're working with them to get these BMPs in place so that we're not having these types of issues. And even if they do have the proper container, we teach them that they need to make sure when they're dumping out their grease that it all ends up into the bin and not on the outside, and that they're keeping the area around it clean as well. So it's a lot of work for our inspectors to go out there and to perform these inspections and go through each of these BMPs and how they can do better on their site. The first picture is a drain pipe that was plumbed outside because they were having issues with their janitor sink inside getting plugged because they didn't have a strainer in place. So they just plumbed it outside so it would go to the catch basin. Problem solved, right? So we did get that disconnected. We helped them get a strainer in their sink, told them this is what you need and this is how you need to do it, and now it's working fine for them. The next picture is of actual mop bucket water. We're teaching them you need to dump that into the janitor sink and not outside. So it's just simple little things that we can teach them and their staff to do that really makes a positive impact on the environment. Here is a shed that was full of oils, chemicals, cleaning materials, and it was all leaching out into the ground. I don't know if you can see real well. So this is one that I actually inspected. We went out there, they took the whole shed down, and they took all of those soils and dug them up that were contaminated, and they brought in new clean soils. And so you can see the before and after what the impact was. So this is Evan Swanson, and I'm lucky to work with him too. He is our conservation coordinator, and he took the lead on our comprehensive stormwater planning project, so I'm going to have him come up and tell you guys about this. Evan?
Thanks, Laura. Good evening, council members. My name is Evan Swanson. As Laura said, I'm an environmental conservation coordinator in the Environmental Engineering Division of the Public Works Department. And I'm here tonight to not only give Laura a few minutes so she can take a breather. As you can tell, she and Jens are both very passionate about what they do. I think it's really cool that we can get up here tonight and just share some of the successes and efficiencies of what we're doing in stormwater drainage in both of our groups. So, and then you also get to put on display some of the healthy camaraderie that goes on behind the scenes that people don't get to see every day. So. Yeah, really enjoyed working with Jens all the time. I've been here for about 10 years working with both of these folks, and they couldn't be more passionate or qualified to be working with what we're doing here. So I just have a few slides tonight, and I'm going to go over comprehensive stormwater planning. Throughout the last year and early this year, Kent has been working and successfully implementing the stormwater planning program, which is a requirement from the Department of Ecology. And this program, it aims to inform and assist in the development of strategies as water quality management tools to protect surface water bodies, such as lakes, rivers, and streams. To accomplish the goals of this new program, staff delineated all 38 drainage basins within Kent's jurisdictional boundaries and collected stormwater data for each basin. The slide here depicts all 38 drainage basins. They're a little tough to see, but we'll be able to see them on the next map a little more well-defined. Staff reviewed the unique characteristics and challenges for each of these basins, such as factors impacting water quality through current land uses, and whether these challenges could be addressed through stormwater management actions. Using the prioritization criteria that staff came up with, the city compared basin characteristics and potential impacts to water quality based on current and future development actions and conditions. The 11 highest ranked basins were reviewed closely to determine which basin is most in need of addressing surface water quality. To come to this conclusion, staff reviewed stormwater data related to factors that impacted stormwater, such as location of industrial and commercial activity, available developable land, existing stormwater treatment facilities, and impervious surface area to determine which stormwater basin would benefit most from intervention and additional focus on stormwater actions. Following review of stormwater data in the basin prioritization process, one stormwater basin was selected as the basin of focus as required by the stormwater permit. The stormwater basin determined to potentially benefit most from stormwater actions was the Lower Mill Creek Basin, pictured here on this slide. This result means that city staff will focus and increase efforts within the Lower Mill Creek Basin for activities such as stormwater inspections, increased street sweeping, stormwater monitoring, and stormwater retrofit opportunities. The new draft stormwater permit that Laura covered will bring additional requirements related to comprehensive stormwater planning. The draft permit proposes that no later than December 31st, 2026, Kent will be required to complete an action plan for at least one new high-priority catchment area or additional actions for the catchment area that we've selected. The draft also proposes that no later than December 31st, 2028, Kent will be required to adopt and implement tree canopy goals and policies to support stormwater management and water quality improvement in receiving waters. This will be a new program to implement with Kent's planning department and will result in the need to update city code and the City of Kent Surface Water Design Manual. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Thank you, Evan. So we also have monitoring requirements. We do have the opportunity in the permit to pay into a regional program, which is the Stormwater Action Monitoring. I believe all jurisdictions are doing this now. And we use that funding collectively to perform effectiveness studies. You know, these are the types of BMPs to see if they're effective for removing pollutants. We do monitoring of receiving waters, and we also look at source identification and see what types of pollutants are out there and how can we stop them from polluting our waterways. As part of this map that Evan just talked to you about, we are doing some in-house monitoring with a consultant, and we are doing some monitoring of Mill Creek, the lower Mill Creek area. We want to get a baseline, and we want to see if there's certain pollutants that we need to focus on. And we also want to see, after this time, next time we monitor, is there a change? Is what we're doing being effective? We're also doing some sampling within our MS4, which is our public system, to see if there's any pollutants that we might find, and if so, trace them back to those source control properties or where they might have come from, so we can do the education and outreach and work with them on BMPs to stop these pollutants. So it's another way of really doing checks and balances on our programs. Mapping and documentation. Again, we're mapping all of our outfalls to our system, and we are now required to also map the pipe size and type and location. We're also going to be mapping as a new requirement our tree canopy coverage for the tree canopy program. We're going to be working with planning as well as vegetation to see if there's policies we can make to retain some tree coverage and monitor that and see how well we're able to retain our tree canopy coverage and if it's growing or decreasing, and really monitor that process. So that's something that we'll be working with them on. We've already started the talks with that. We're also under the new requirements, going to have to map out our system. So all of the system that's common to one outfall, and then see if there's treatment and document whether there's treatment before it goes to that outfall. That way we can document the acreages of stormwater that we're treating before it goes to our outfalls. So that'll be a lot of work that we'll be working on with our GIS group. And then there's this whole new program, Stormwater Management for Existing Development, which is basically enacting all of the plan that we came up with for the stormwater planning that Evan talked to you about. So we'll be required to treat so many acres depending on the size of the city. And ways that we can do that is through adding treatment. Like, let's say we're adding treatment to our vaults that didn't have it before. So we have some filters in the vault. Or adding some type of treatment to an existing system that's only conveyance and doesn't have any treatment. We can retrofit it with some type of treatment. Education and outreach is also another way of meeting this requirement. And again, since we have such a large industrial and manufacturing area, getting that education out to them on proper ways to run their business and explaining to them how they can still be productive while protecting the environment. And education is always our first way we want to approach this with them and get them to buy into really taking some pride in protecting the environment. And so that's what we're working on. And we've also used some of our grant funding to buy spill kits that we're giving them and teaching them how to use them and making sure that they have them handy in case there's a spill. So these are also another way of meeting that requirement. And then making policy updates, like to our illicit discharge. We will be required to update this one to include the PFAS for the firefighting foam and the building washing and those other BMPs that are new requirements. So we will have to do some updates to our codes, and as well as our surface water design manual, because Ecology updated their manual, which triggers us to update our manual, which we adopt from King County, so we have to wait for them to update their manual. So we're going through that process, or we will be again. So to leave you with this, all of these programs are important because it really is making a difference. King County does routine stream and river monitoring through a program, and their report for spring of 2023 shows that there's a decrease in nutrients, bacteria, sediments, and they're all decreasing. And this includes the monitoring that they're doing in Kent. We're part of that program. These trends include a decrease in total nitrogen, total phosphorus, sediment loading, and bacteria loading. So it is making a difference, and that's really good to see. And the benefits of these programs are protection of wetlands and aquatic ecosystems, improved quality of receiving water bodies, conservation of water resources, protection of public health, flood control, and as requested last year, because they said after all the ickiness, they wanted something cute and fuzzy. So protection of aquatic animals and their habitat to counteract all of the illicit discharges. Here's some salmon, and these are river otters, which are found in Green River. So that's the end of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Another outstanding presentation. Great for both of you guys. And so with the new program, are there going to be additional staff requirement, or will you be able to do some of this stuff with your existing staffing?
Well,
Seems like a lot of new programs
there
being
are a
added.
lot
so,
of new programs. I'm going to let Chad discuss this one.
Yeah, I think that Evan said earlier something about successes and efficiencies, and that's one of the things that we're working through. As the permits come through each time, there are more requirements, and they're the classic unfunded mandate that comes through, and so they want to add more and more things for our folks to take care of and to track. And so far, they've been keeping up as valiantly as possible, but at some point, we will need to add people in order to keep up with the requirements.
Okay.
So we've been trying to do things with our GIS system and other systems. We've been looking at programs where can we get people to self-police to a degree, but obviously you've seen in the pictures, those can only be taken so far.
Yeah. And I know Evan, and what's your name here?
I think CJ Burley.
CJ, yeah. I want to give you guys prop too. I mean, so you're here, right, and part of the team. So thank you, both Evan and CJ, as being part of the team and making this work. So thank you. Okay, let me see. Any other question? Councilmember Core.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Laura, for the presentation, and Evan. Question about the tree canopy mapping. Is that map going to be available for public as well when it's ready?
Yes, it will. King County actually has one right now that's available for public.
Okay.
And they map all of the jurisdictions, all of the cities within King County.
So we'll just, okay. Oh, makes it easier.
So we'll have to track what's specifically in Kent, but they do have that available. And we'll be getting more specific with ours, but that is available now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other question, team? Laura or Jen? Hey, thank you both. Please pass the kudos down to the team. We appreciate what they do. I think Councilmember Fincher talked about sometimes we don't really think about everything to make this city work, and there's nothing more important than the drainage and the stormwater, right? I mean, you think about it. So most people don't think about it after the fact, but it's definitely you guys are being proactive, trying to make things happen beforehand. So kudos to the team, and be sure to pass it down from the council member as well, too.
Will, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys, we're going to adjourn till 7 o'clock. Okay, thank you.